Uncle Walker was a third-year head prefect, and I looked up to him. Let's give the young man a hand. You know, how he was able to keep his hair, and me, a much younger person, bored, you know, I'm in sassy. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, old boys and girls, I'm glad until Sylvia Boyd is here, and my darling Mrs. Chinwe Hesse. Let's give the young ladies a hand, shall we? On that note, we are also inducting Auntie Joy into the group for all the beer that you drank in your house, for all the meetings and all the delicacies. You are now an honorary old girl. Let's give the young lady a hand. You know, I've titled my commentary for this occasion, Francis L. Bartels, the great headmaster I was destined to know. Now, my relationship with Headmaster Bartels evolved from headmaster and student to father and son. We were always happy together. We shared so much in common as educators. As I've told Agnes and Carlian, both of you, you are my sisters, whether you like it or not, because Haffar is my bona fide father. Now, way back some 64 years ago, I remember as a greenhorn, my very first walk through Cape Coast on Commercial Street and London Bridge, from MFANTSIPIM to the Methodist Book Depot. That was in September 1961. I was in the company of a couple of mates who had also arrived at Aboki from Kumasi. An incident that followed rocked my very core. As we were approaching some women on a sidewalk at Kotokraba, I heard one of them whisper, "Bartels, no." That blew my mind. You know, she was pointing at us. Right there and then, my chest stretched out by an unforeseen force. Out of the blue, we were being celebrated. I felt taller than my teenage height could allow. Not once in my life had I been so recognized and validated. Thanks to Francis Bartels. I had not yet met the headmaster. He left for a post at UNESCO in mid-1960. So when I got to MFANTSIPIM later in September that year, he was already gone. But as fate would have it, I was to see an advert that announced the launching of his book, The Persistence of Paradox, Memories of F.F. Bartels. That opportunity brought me to the Teachers Hall, Accra, September 24, 2003. We seem to know Headmaster Bartels mostly as a headmaster, but he was also a most prolific writer. The authenticity of his ideas and reflection were so refreshing that I published a review of the book entitled That Lucky Old Son, mimicking the title of a jazz track by the iconic trumpeter Louis Satchmo Armstrong. How many of you know Uncle Louis? I can pay you for them all. I noted the following. Bartels' vigor was a surge of inspiration and a clarion call to measure to the top, and appreciate the twin tower of perseverance and leadership. Then, at the grand age of 98 years, Headmaster Bartels released yet another masterpiece, Journey Out of the African Maze, Indigenous and Higher Education in Tandem. Before the release, he had sent me the original transcript for my comments. There was absolutely nothing I could add or subtract, and I told him so. In a public review of that book, I commented, the grand old man has now clocked 98 bold years, and is still not about to rest from his labors. For him, study was never a chore, but a vibrant responsibility and a pleasure. Someone must have sent him a copy of the review. He emailed me from Paris, thanking me for it. He then invited me to Paris to visit him. But for some reason, I couldn't make it. Today, that missed opportunity was one of my greatest regrets. Those days, we communicated almost daily. When he was in Accra, I would obediently follow him. Once, for his speech at the Methodist University at Accra, he cautioned. He said, I prefer to be the last to speak. I don't want to steal the show. Are you with me? Another time, at a speed day celebration at the MFANTSIPIM, he motioned Kallian to call me to him when he mounted the podium. He said to me, Haffar, he always called me by my last name. I would like you to stand behind me so that if I were to fall, you catch me. Recalling those special emotional moments bring tears to my eyes. He later wrote to me to announce the completion of this book we are about to launch today. At the time, he titled it A Long Winding Road and asked for my opinion. I did provide it by suggesting another title, since to me, a long winding road sounded like a long winding reed. Thereafter, he was to change it to MFANTSIPIM, A Headmaster Remembers, a most appropriate title for this masterpiece. He had once told me, Haffar, I will live to be 100 years. And guess what? He lived to be 100 years and 1 week. Before his passing in March 2010, he had asked me to write his final paper to be delivered on his 100th birthday. And I said, why me? I don't think I can do this. He replied, Haffar, you know me. I dutifully wrote something and sent it to him. He sent an email and thanked me for it and said, I need to write the paper myself. He said, it's going to be my very last contribution to education, but I would like you to read it on my behalf, which I did. Now, I was soon to receive from him a paper titled, Build Your Monument in the Hearts of Men, which I read on his behalf to celebrate that anniversary at the Physicians and Surgeons. I then published my book, MFANTSIPIM, The Makers of a Great School. I recall a question I put to him once. I said, sir, who would you consider the most influential headmasters of MFANTSIPIM? He replied, I'll give you only 3 names, Barma and Lockhart. Now you are the third. This is a man who spoke in parables. You know, today I confess, I miss him now more than ever. Whenever visiting MFANTSIPIM, I have stood and taken pictures by the monument of his bust with a plinth he sought to make us greater than himself. In summary, Headmaster Bartels taught me to stand on my own 2 feet, and most importantly, to think for myself. I called him one day and told him that I was depressed. I didn't know where my life was going. And he said, look, Haffar, you have an obsession. It's a great obsession. You write very well. Put your depression and sorrow aside and begin writing your thoughts for posterity. Now, Headmaster Bartels taught me to stand on my own 2 feet with those 2 words. On that advice, as I stand before you this evening, I have written well over 500 articles for Daily Graphic in my column, based on that advice. What's the I've also written 3 books, and 2 of them were initiated by him. I believe, in summary, that anyone who's passed through this wonderful institution we call MFANTSIPIM needs to have a copy of this book we are here to launch this evening. MFANTSIPIM, A Headmaster Remembers. Not only that, we also have to buy copies for families and friends. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.